Forward is a campaign that Opus have been doing around building a sustainable workforce for local government. And there's many strands to this. And one of the strands we want to talk to you about today is emotional intelligence in an AI world. So a little bit about myself. I'm Selena Aylin. I'm the Director of Operations here at Opus. I have about 20 years experience in recruitment and workforce planning. Predominantly about 16 or 17 years of them are actually in public sector. And if I just quickly hand over to my colleague, Jazz.
Hi everyone, Jazz Dallywell, Operations Manager for Opus West Midlands. And I also have over 20 years experience, but more so from the welfare to work sector as opposed to recruitment. However, a good interest and a lot of passion around social values work, which kind of ties into why I'm on this call with Selena today.
Thank you, Jazz. So a little bit of an intro into Opus. So Opus are a managed service solution. We are a local authority trading company owned by Suffolk County Council. We predominantly focus on managed service solutions, but we also have other brands like our specialist services, what deal with permanent recruitment, statement of works, exec search, and other projects. We also have a different brand called Opus Teach. But today we wanted to talk to you about some of the challenges we face within local authorities. On the right-hand side, we have this map just to show you the coverage we have around the UK. And this is across private and third sector. But what is very evident, and all of you are probably on the call today will know this, is everyone are having the same challenges around the talent and attracting talent. So today we just wanted to bring that to life. A little bit about Opus. We've been going 10 years. In them 10 years, we've saved a massive £60 million across our local authority clients. And one of the reasons Opus was set up then 10 years ago was actually, instead of actually just filling temporary vacancies and spend, they wanted to try and start chipping away and fixing the problems at hand. And that is our mission as a team. On average, we realise about 25% savings across our clients, on average at 18.6% reduction in temp spend. And I'm so proud to say we have a 100% client retention rate. In the last 3 years alone, we've grown by 50%, which is so evident that the need for different types of models and for people to focus on the workforce planning and talent is so important within our industry. So let me give you a bit of a helicopter view and a little bit around why we need to focus on this. And I think this title speaks for itself. The future of local government is at a crossroads. We know, I think, you know, I'm assuming most of you who are on here from local government, we know that, but we need to remind ourselves that we're dealing with everything on today basis. We need to think about the future because it will be there before we know it. I myself, 20 years in this industry, I know how quickly the years go. The ageing workforce, a massive 67% of our of our local authority age force are 40 plus. We have to start tackling that challenge. Another quite alarming fact is 60% of all respondents do not see local government as an attractive employer. Coupled with some of the statistics we've all probably learned over the last couple of years, by 2035, we've got a huge bomb going off because we're going to have over 500,000 jobs required for adult social care alone. And that's one little element of all the industries we look after in public sector and local government. So we need to act now, and we definitely appreciate we need to do stuff as a collaborative, as we are a provider to our clients. And we wanted to, today's session, if I'm being honest with you, is about why we need to act now and what we can do collectively together. EI, so emotional intelligence, so you'll hear us saying about EI. Emotional intelligence in an IO world is so important. It's actually probably the biggest skill gap we're going to have around communication, resilience, leadership, and that will set candidates apart in the future when we're looking at technology. We've got some information here on the different generations, and we've been talking about generations, God, probably about 5 years now, but in the last 2 years really honing in on them. And some people still don't know the gaps, so we've got some useful statistics here around the generational gaps. But I'm going to bring in Jazz, who's my colleague. She is phenomenal and an expert in this field and lives and breathes this. So if I could just bring you in, Jazz, just to explain a little bit more about this.
Yeah, sure. So we just thought it may be helpful to include the age brackets for each of the generations that that we'll be referring to. Simply because we may be talking a lot about Gen Z, Gen Alpha, but it doesn't necessarily make sense to anyone who's not been thinking about that as yet. And especially as it's estimated that by 2030, we'll have up to 35% of Gen Zers making up our workforce. So those, as you can see from the table on the right, those who are currently either choosing their secondary school options or have already not so long ago graduated. So if you just try and make a mental note of those age brackets, mainly Gen Z, because on the next slide, we're going to talk about what we've been doing in that age bracket in particular. So a bit of a busy slide, but imagery always helps. So there is clearly a need for local government to attract and retain exceptional talent with some pace and urgency. So simply due to the limited time we have on today's call, whilst we've done activities for across all generations, I'm going to throw a spotlight on the need for emotional intelligence support for Gen Zs in particular. Especially as in recent studies, it's been identified that 65% of that generation feel that's where they need the most support when it comes to skills development. EI is a big area, from pre-interview through to retaining employment. So where to start? Well, actually, I'll start with acknowledging the fact that we're very aware, like Selena said, that the activities I'm about to highlight do take time, planning, networking, and therefore resource, which I know isn't always readily available. So I'm hoping that some of the things I talk about will resonate with you enough to just even create considerations for you to explore further. We have been unapologetically relentless in getting our faces in front of thousands of students within not just colleges and universities, but also within secondary schools. And that's because we want to proactively raise awareness of the need to not just acquire exceptional grades and technical abilities, but to place that same emphasis on their soft skills, something that we at Opus term as super skills. We want them to understand how employers of the future will be placing more and more emphasis on their human skills and to feel fully supported in that area. And because the way we think, we represent the councils we work with on the front line, the aim is to naturally increase their desire to work for a local authority in the process of doing all of that. So the kind of activities we've got involved with range from delivering info talks in school assemblies, as we understand the need to plant seeds early on in the journey. Originally, the sessions were purely designed around highlighting career opportunities within local government. However, after the very first presentation, we realised the awareness of, what a council does in the first place is really lacking. So that evolved into including an education piece around what a council does, aside from collecting bins and council tax, which has been a constant theme of thought across many students and some lecturers too, mind. So that was interesting. From that, we figured it would be not only insightful, but also rather inclusive to hold a focus group with a local college, where students across multiple subject areas were asked questions around, do you know who your local council is? Do you know what they do? For those that do, have you ever considered them as a future employer? What do you think of their marketing material, job ads? Never seen it? Well, look at these samples. What are your thoughts around effectiveness for your generation, etc., etc.? That feedback is then collated, analysed, and provided to council HR teams to inform future talent acquisition activities with some proposed next steps for consideration. And that's collaboration at its best, right? So leading on from that, we've been in talks with the marketing and design team, departments of local colleges, and having a collaboration between them and their respective council in that area to explore how their students can design an effective ad campaign to raise awareness of public sector career opportunities to fellow Gen Zers. This really puts the council's money where their mouth is around being inclusive to the next generation. As you don't get any closer to getting into the hearts and minds of future talent as you do when it's the future talent that's designing the talent attraction campaign, these professional interactions between students and council employees further supports the super skills, human skills, EI skills, whatever we want to call it, of that development due to having to interact with personnel at different levels within the council, pitching and presenting ideas, registering and acting on feedback for change, taking on board constructive criticism. So it's all super engaging, but impacting positive skill development at the same time. We've also organised for heads of educational establishments to meet with council leads to understand how local authorities can advance on their current work experience, apprenticeship and graduate scheme offers, as there's a lot more work to be done around making local government jobs more accessible to young recruits. So formatting the blueprint for that is a key piece of work we're undertaking at present with council partners. But if any council has this in the bag already, then please feel free to share the best practice with us, because we are all in it together. You know, it's all about making the impact across the country, not just in the patches that we're in. Another really exciting initiative that we're currently in the midst of is working with local secondary schools for one of our council partners to establish a student ambassador programme to engage with Gen Zs further. Each secondary school is nominating a student to serve as an ambassador, and they are going to be tasked with promoting their local council's initiatives and projects to their peers. The idea is that these ambassadors attend quarterly meetings with different service area leads each time, gaining insights into local government projects. And between those meetings, they disseminate that information that they've received positively to fellow students. So peer-to-peer info dissemination, and basically acting as influencers for the council, because that's what it's all about in that generation. So once again, this will not just create positive PR for the council and create a brand amongst the youth, it also allows the students involved to hone their super skills. As just like the marketing students that I just mentioned, they'll be developing professional etiquette skills, reporting on progress, meeting deadlines, producing documents with feedback on engagement and the interest that's been garnered, meeting objectives and what have you. In addition to all of that, many of our colleagues within Opus, including myself, are mentors and find ourselves increasingly giving advice and guidance around the importance of EI skills more than anything else, just because of how essential these skills will be as we advance into the world of AI. We also highlight the benefits of working on temporary assignments, obviously, because that's what we do at Opus for our council partners, as that will support putting their EI learnings into practice and to do as many assignments as possible to build their EI toolkit before committing to that long-term career opportunity. We understand that Gen Z are up there when it comes to being tech savvy and adaptable to change around systems and tech advancement in general, but they're not at those same levels when it comes to emotional intelligence. So if we go into the next slide, Selena, which is all about EI in an AI world. So that's emotional intelligence in an artificial intelligence world. So like I say, we actively talk about developing human skills in our presentations to the students, but it's all very well telling someone they need to do something and even address the why around why they need to do it. But the advice is always more useful when you explain the how as well. So that's where we make a point of explaining to students and our council partners actually alike the need for cross-generation collaboration. This is where we combine the experience of older generations with the fresh perspectives of Gen Z, so that we absolutely ensure EI is not lost in an AI world. If anything, it's just taken EI to the next level. Now, I'm a Gen X, and I hope you now can't remember those brackets because you'll know how old I am, but I'm a Gen X and I wouldn't feel confident around creating killer digital content. I just wouldn't do it, you know, on whatever platform to attract anything, let alone staff in the industry that we're in. However, a Gen Z counterpart in my team could do that in their sleep, in half the time and with better content, inspired by having fresh perspectives. But then what I bring to the table is ensuring their fabulous work, all that amazing work that they've done in half the time that I would have done, is packaged and presented in a professional format, pitch it at the correct level for them, can maybe construct professional supporting documents that place emphasis on key messaging points, and then naturally understand the need to follow up and maintain constant comms with the receiving party of the project. So more EI, communications and social skills being deployed there, as opposed to the tech element. My Gen Z counterpart may not feel comfortable doing any of that because that would be totally out of their comfort zone, perhaps. However, that's why cross-generational collabs are a great thing. It's a relationship with an equal exchange, showcasing there's a valid place for all of us at work, now and in the future, to produce the very best outputs ultimately. I do think it's also fair to point out that Gen Z are very resilient, having experienced various societal changes, COVID, what have you. However, they are aware of their reputation amongst older generations and they actively seek to break stereotypes. They want to be seen as capable contributors rather than being pigeonholed into preconceived notions about their work ethic or commitment, but many struggle with articulating concerns in a diplomatic way, in a professional, environment, and often prefer to just walk away as opposed to tactfully challenge an issue. Why? Because they don't know how to. This contributes significantly to the somewhat quick culture rep that some Gen Zers have as employees, but it's not because they want to quit. A lot of them just lack the emotional maturity required to navigate sticky situations. They haven't developed their EI skills. So an area that older generations should be aware of so that we can mentor and support and retain that exceptional talent. Social and environmental consciousness is, something that Gen Z is really passionate about. Environmental causes, which can enhance corporate social responsibility efforts is what their thing is. So that's something that would align really well with a career in local government, right? So that leads us on to the next piece where we look at why public sector, is an attractive option for Gen Z candidates. So, oh my gosh, I have to tell you, of all the sectors that a Gen Zer would be naturally aligned to, it's actually our public sector. They just don't know it yet. And to be fair, neither did we until we started working with them. So it's not something you just know unless you actually interact. So making a difference and doing purposeful work is actually more important than the salary for Gen Z. They want to work for organisations that align with their values. Local councils are at the heart of community development and social justice initiatives, making it a perfect fit for those looking to create a positive impact. Local councils provide a unique chance to work across various departments, from social work, urban planning, community services. This variety allows young professionals to gain a breadth of experience that very few other employers can match. Public sector has fantastic career paths and robust training programs. We just need to showcase it a bit more in job adverts to attract ambitious candidates. Gen Z values learning and growth opportunities. So let's showcase how they can evolve within our councils that few other employers can match. And flexibility and work-life balance. I think we all know that many councils are beginning to embrace flexible working arrangements, but this resonates with Gen Z's desires for balance between their personal lives and careers. Once again, making local government roles more appealing. So ultimately, through this continued work, Opus are literally flying the flag and raising the brand of the councils that we work with. We can all do some of that though. So let's seize this opportunity together to not just attract, but retain the bright minds that will shape the future of our councils. Over to you, Celine.
Thank you, Jazz. So over the last 12 to 18 months, we've been working with some of the local authorities doing a case of videos. And I think the national LGA campaign, which went live in October, really resonates with what we've been doing as well. We've been talking to them about I think one of the statements they make is so important, 800 different types of jobs in a local authority. And we're trying to bring that to life because, as Jazz said at the beginning of the presentation, there's a perception that we council people collect bins, or it's social work, or it's council tax. They don't have any idea of the breadth of different types of roles that exist. So we're trying to bring together a town hall map. This is in a very infancy stages, and we're hoping it's going to be interactive. But what we're doing, as Jazz said, is we're actually getting some of the younger generations, and we're going to have different versions of this from the different generational people, so it appeals to them. But just to give you a little bit of an idea about this map and the videos we've done so far over the last 12 months, we have Michael on the left-hand corner, a solutions architect. Some people just don't know them positions exist. We've got Adele Wiley. She's one of the youngest chief execs in the country. She came into the sector from legal, and this short video explains her journey. And she didn't realise public sector was her career choice until she'd done a placement. And that actually is a theme which runs through all of these videos. It's not until they do a placement or something that they realise this is the career of choice. Colin Foster, he's a chief exec from the Northampton Children's Trust. Colin was in a private sector company, but he had this urge, he wanted to do something more and give something more. He's a brilliant chief exec who believes in making a difference, and he is making a difference. And that's what we can sell. But it's about bringing all of these videos to life. Now, it's great because we have cross collaboration across all of our clients. This is a drop in the ocean of what we're trying to achieve, but we're trying to chip away at it one by one. as I said, we are trying to tackle it. So the feedback Jazz has received over the last couple of months with her team, we're trying to think, well, what can we do as an employer who is committed to this? So part of something we just launched this month alone, and it's based on some of the feedback we're getting. So this thing around emotional intelligence, we put together a suite of training around emotional intelligence or softer skills. We've rolled this out across all of our temp population, across all of our councils that we work with, or even third sector clients. But not just that, this training that we've rolled out is now available to the career leaders that we work with, to the over 50s groups that we're working with, and so on. So we're trying to actually think, what can we do to make a difference? Sometimes it's marginal difference, but then marginal difference make a much bigger picture. As Jazz said, we're working with the universities. We're looking at how we can develop it. We're looking at what attracts each generation. Yes, we've focused on Generation Z at the moment, but all of the generations, we need a clear, targeted campaign. So I'm going to just hand over to Jazz just to summarise this slide. Actually, Jazz, you want to come in? Because I was going to steal the lines and I won't.
That's all right. So just some key takeaways, because I appreciate that we've gone over a lot. So some key summary points, really, where I think we have to start with super skills, essentially. So that's EI. Because as AI takes over more technical tasks, things like communication, resilience, and leadership are going to be what really sets candidates apart. We know that, and they're beginning to find that out. So these are what in the future, if not already, will be deemed as high demand areas, and that's the messaging that's going out. Next, I would say embracing a multi-generational workforce. This is a fantastic opportunity, guys. We can learn so much from each other, no matter what our age. So bringing together different perspectives and experiences, we can spark creativity and adaptability across the board. Local government needs some fresh ideas to attract talent. So we should really showcase what makes public service special and why it matters in our communities. It's not just about filling roles. It's about finding people who are passionate about making a difference. So reaching out and talking to educational establishments in the first instance would be a great place to start, as they're more than happy to collaborate. You won't find any resistance from them to start working with councils to get their students progressing accordingly in that sector. We also need to focus on attracting, retaining, and developing our future leaders. This means investing in professional development and creating clear paths for growth. So we need to think about progression planning as opposed to succession planning. You know, think about offering mentoring by more seasoned staff and then encourage newbies to take part as part of their personal and professional development. The professional skills our mentees receive is like nothing they'd ever get from school or college, and even uni in some cases. The satisfaction that we get from mentoring is like nothing else. We're truly proud and privileged to be part of someone's success journey, irrespective of where they end up working. So even if it's not public sector, don't care, we've still helped them. We've still contributed positively to their journey. But yeah, would be great if it is within public sector. So just for those reasons alone, it's worthwhile. I'll end with a fun fact that by 2030, 65% of Gen Z and Gen Alpha, so those are the ones that are still in school earlier on, primary and secondary, you know, they'll be in jobs that don't even exist today. So if we just think about that for a second, those jobs don't even exist, and that's where 65% of them will be working. So that just makes it even more crucial for us to align our workforce strategies with the growing needs of tomorrow. So that means thinking ahead about how services may change and ensuring our teams have the skills they need to adapt, or already have in the first place to come in with. So as I said earlier, we do appreciate that planning for current and future talent transformation takes time and resource. So please do feel free to reach out if there's anything you've heard today that you'd like to chat through further, because Opus don't treat this work as just an add-on to our recruitment service. As our council partners will testify, it's an absolute integral part of it. So with that, I'll hand back over to Selena.
Thank you, Jazz. I think what Jazz just touched on the end is crucial. So I think if we were going to take anything away from today, is we are fully aware. You probably heard us say it 3 or 4 times, resource is low, resource within HR teams is low, and that's why collaboration is key. yes, we work with our current clients, but you will have other clients as well. So let's make a mission to change this together, ask some questions, work in partnership, because collectively together we can change the vision of the future. But like anything, myself and Jazz are all about helping. So if there's anything we can do, we're more than happy to help and hopefully change and make public sector employee of choice. I'm going to close the presentation, but we're going to stay on in case anyone has any questions.
Amazing. So thank you so much to both of you. What an interesting presentation, and looking into the future of the workforce. I think it's a big conversation topic at the moment. So great to hear what Opus is doing, and to hear both of you talk about something that you're clearly both so passionate about, which is wonderful. Just going to give people a second to pop any questions that they might have into the chat, or to turn their audio on if there's anything that people wanted to ask, unless anybody's feeling a bit shy on this Friday lunchtime. I know that Jazz mentioned that if anybody has any questions that they think of after this, you can feel free to get in contact with both the ladies. Are you both sort of contactable on LinkedIn if people wanted to find you on there?
Of course. Yeah.
Brilliant. Just in case anybody sort of came up with any questions after we finished today, but doesn't look like we've got any through in the chat today. But that's all right. So I think that we will close it off there for today. But another huge thank you to Selena and Jazz from Opus, and thank you to everybody for joining us today at this PPMA Friday webinar. And we hope that you have a great rest of your day and a great weekend, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Charlotte.